Hello everybody, hello and welcome. So happy you're here. It's been a couple of weeks since I did a video and I thought, wow, where does the time go? But you know, with the summer being here and everything, we all get busy with stuff. I'm sure you all experience the same thing, and sometimes it's hard to just slow things down and put some other things aside and relax and do a good video or listen to some good music. So I had some time today, so I thought I'd get this video going. And what this video is about an album that to me is kind of a lost or forgotten album. And I mean that literally for me. I only have a few copies of this album. I am seriously lacking in having copies of this particular Beatles album. And as I went through my collection, I said, why is that? Why is it I don't have that many of this record? And I think there's a couple of different reasons, folks. First thing is, it was one of the final Beatles albums I ever got as a young person. If you go back, if you've watched the history of my videos, and I've talked about this before, you know, we all, from the time we were very young up until a certain point, we were collecting Beatles albums. You got that first one. For me, it was Meet the Beatles when I was like 3 years old from my parents in 1964, along with A Hard Day's Night. And then through the 60s, going into the early 70s. If you've watched my videos, you know my dad would bring me records, or I would buy records with my mom in the store. And able to collect all the U.S. releases through the years. But believe it or not, the final two, even after Abbey Road, after Let It Be, after the White Album, my final two Beatle albums I got, and it was around early 76, was Revolver and was, oh no, I shouldn't say early 76. It was probably later 76, because I remember, if you watch my rock and roll music video, I had heard the song Got to Get You Into My Life, and it was re-released as a single in 1976, and it seemed like a new, fresh Beatles song to me because I hadn't heard it yet. So it was after June of 76 that I got Yesterday and Today and Revolver. They were my final two Beatle albums. I was like 15 years old, and that was rare to go that long without hearing a couple of different Beatle records for me. So it was like a whole new thing, a new exciting thing for me. And Revolver, I've got tons of copies of Revolver. I have UK versions, I have US versions, I have CD UK, I have the 2014 American release of Revolver on CD. I may even have an old cassette laying around somewhere. So that one I'm pretty much covered. But Yesterday and Today is an album that I don't have that many of, folks, and I've got to make amends to this. I've got to try to get some more Yesterday and Today, different variations and copies. It's really lacking for me. Now, I don't have many of it, and it's kind of been a lost album in the sense that when it was first came out in 1966, within 20 years, by 1986, just before they were going to start releasing the Beatles CDs, this and the other American releases were basically deleted from the catalog. You couldn't get them anymore, and they kind of became lost for 28 years, and this one certainly was, until 2014, when it was released on CD in the Capitol album set, if you remember that from about 5 years ago. And now, yes, you can get it through that set on a CD, but the vinyl has never been re-released, and so this album is to me a forgotten and lost album. It's just an album that you don't see it that often anymore. Anyway, get back on track here. So we all know about the original Butcher controversy with this album. That's not what this video is about. When the album first came out in early June of '66, it came out on the original Butcher cover. There were like 750,000 of them pressed, and there was an immediate negative reaction from retailers, sellers, and I'm sure some buyers also. And it got pulled. As you know, that a letter got sent out from Capitol recalling all these albums, I think by June 10th or so of that year, said, get them all back here, we're getting rid of them, don't want it out there. And I think it cost Capitol like $250,000 to replace the original Butcher cover with this trunk cover. It was a very costly and expensive proposition for them, but because of the outcry against the Butcher cover, they did it. Now, a lot of people, there's different theories on why the Beatles released the Butcher cover. Was it to protest the Vietnam War? Was it to protest Capitol essentially butchering their albums, their UK the way they wanted the albums and put them out like this, you know, with hodgepodge of different songs from different sources. So I don't know if it's ever been said, unless some of you have better information or knowledge, let me know. But it really was one of those things where there's a lot of different thoughts and theories as to why the Beatles put out the Butcher cover. By June 20th of 1966, this new trunk cover was distributed. By July 30th, it was #1, folks. It replaced Frank Sinatra's Strangers in the Night album and stayed #1 for 5 weeks. 5 weeks. And eventually, as of 2014, it has sold over 2 million copies. So that's pretty good. For an album that was kind of like a hodgepodge capital thing thrown together and was deleted from the catalog in '86 and then only came out in CD form in 2014, to sell well over 2 million copies, that's pretty good. Now, I like this album, and here's my first original, which is still in great shape. I got this, like I said, in late '76. There's the back. And my vinyl is still on Apple. Okay. I'm not going to take it all out, but it's black vinyl, as you can see. But on that Apple label, which I always thought was kind of cool to have some of these old US albums on Apple. I also have another variation of it, which to me is kind of odd. Maybe somebody can help me with this one. I have one, I don't know where I got it, but it's a stereo version of it. As you can see, it says right on the label, stereo. And that's fine, it's in stereo, okay. But why did it come in this sleeve, folks? As you can see, it still has the gold record seal on it. I would think if it was an original on the Rainbow Swirl, that it wouldn't have this seal. Is it possible that this was Frankenstein somehow, or is it possible that there was a late Rainbow Swirl put into a sleeve with this? Because I didn't think this came onto the album until after the Rainbow Swirl was not used. So please correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe this is a later pressing. So I do have this version of it on the Rainbow Swirl. And my coolest version of it, which I haven't, no, I don't have an original Butcher first state, second state, or third state. Sorry, don't have that to show you. But I do have this, which I think is beautiful. I don't know who put this out, folks, but to look at it, you would think this was an original mono pressing of the original Yesterday and Today. Look at this sleeve. It's a beautiful sleeve, cover, I should say. The back has all the markings of an original, high fidelity. There's the Capitol label. I mean, look at this thing. It's beautiful. The giveaway, though, is when you first look at the vinyl, you go, whoa, look at that nice Rainbow Swirl vinyl. But when you take it out of the sleeve, right away you know it's not an original. It's on like a greenish blue marbleized vinyl. Can you see that? I don't know if it's showing up well where you are, but pretty nice, huh? So it's obviously a fake. It's obviously a whatever you want to call it, a fake, a fan club only release, a bootleg, whatever you want to call it. But I still think it's pretty cool. I just think it's so nice to have it. And it's just a nice little collectible for my fun purposes of showing people that, hey, this is what the Butcher original would look like. And it's really put together very well, the label and the way the sleeve is put together. So anyway, those are my 3 copies on vinyl of Yesterday and Today. That's all I have. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the album. Although it's a Capitol kind of hodgepodge Frankenstein, me personally, as a young boy, when I got this as a teenager, I always thought it was a great album. I always thought the sequencing and the programming and the songs put on here were fabulous. I'm going to go over them really quick with you right now. You've got Yesterday and Act Naturally from the UK Help album. Okay, they're put on here. You have 4 songs from the UK Rubber Soul. You have Drive My Car, If I Needed Someone, Nowhere Man, and What Goes On. They're all put on here. You also have the single, which came out around the time of Rubber Soul, of Weekend Working Out and Day Tripper. They're on here. And then what the unique part of this was is we got a preview by a month or so early in America of 3 songs from the upcoming UK Revolver album. For whatever reason, and I don't know all the history on it, Capitol needed more songs to fill out this album. So I don't know if they begged, borrowed, or stole, or whatever they did, but they somehow managed to finagle George Martin and the Beatles releasing Dr. Robert, I'm Only Sleeping, and Your Bird Can Sing, 3 John Lennon lead vocal songs from the upcoming Revolver, and they put it on yesterday and today. They put them on yesterday and today, which for me kind of ruined the United States version of Revolver, because John's only represented by 2 songs on this album. Paul has 5, George has 3, and Ringo has 1 on the regular United States Revolver. And I always felt John was shortchanged there. To me, I can't listen to the US Revolver anymore because it's just not complete without the 3 additional John Lennon songs. So, but I didn't know that then, back when I was getting this album in Revolver. So I like this album because I love those 3 John Lennon lead vocal songs. I just think they're fabulous. And so this was a cool little album to me. I don't know what you all think of it. Maybe you can give your thoughts. I liked it when it first came out. Obviously, looking back on it now, I prefer the UK Revolver with the 3 John Lennon songs on there. But occasionally I will throw this album on for the fun of it because it does bring back memories of end of 76, early 77 for me when this was like a new discovery for me, a new album. So I do enjoy it in that sense. Now, I must say something else about this album is that it is just a fun rockin' album. If you really think about it, it is a pretty rocking Beatle album. I mean, Drive My Car, Nowhere Man, Dr. Robert rocks along, And Your Bird Can Sing, We Can Work It Out, and Day Tripper. I mean, it's just got some great rockers on here, great songs that are just fabulous together when put into this little package, made for a nice little listen back in the day. So that's all I really want to say about it, folks, is that it's to me a lost album. I need to collect it more. I need to go out and find maybe a mono version on the Rainbow Swirl. Maybe I'll go out and try to look for some green label versions of it, or maybe an orange later or purple Capitol later version. I'm just very lacking in this album. I don't have it, and I need to really change that. And let me just, one more thing I forgot to show you before I leave. The CD did come out in 2014. Here you go, 2014. You could get the CD. All right, had this nice little slip portion to it here, which in the store it would highlight better, I guess. And what's nice about this is not only do you get the CD cover, and this one, new improved stereo. There's the back, just like the album. But it was also a nice touch as they gave you a slick for the trunk. I would never do this, but this is a sticker. You could essentially take this apart and peel it and put it over. If you want to make yourself a second state butcher, you can go from a first state to a second state, tape it right on there, and make yourself a second state. If you really want to be imaginative, you can then peel it and ruin it and peel it off and dig it off there. Scrape it with your fingernail, get that sticker off there, and then have a third state butcher. What do you think of that? Ooh, that's unique, huh? I don't think anybody out there is doing that, right? But what's cool is on the inside, you get a beautiful CD on the Rainbow Swirl, and you get the original inner sleeve reproduced. You can't beat that, folks. I mean, that's just a great little deal. Came out in 2014. Grab one now while you can. I don't know how long they'll be available. But that's it, folks. Yesterday and today, June of 1966, just about 53 years ago, the Lost Forgotten Beatle album. What do you think about it? Tell me your thoughts. Thanks again. God bless you all, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.